Hi.
Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're brand new here, my name is Nikki and this is my book nook. Guys, today we are doing my January reading wrap up and I'm super excited to get into it because I had an amazing reading month. Like, I cannot imagine a better way to start off 2023. There wasn't a single book that I read this month that I didn't absolutely love. Like, seriously, 4.5 stars or above. Just so good, so happy. I'm just like in the best mood right now when it comes to reading. Like, the opposite of whatever a slump is. I just want to read every single thing in sight. Like, I can't even decide what to read next. It's just a really good feeling and I'm having fun with it. But before we get into that, I need to address something real quick. I just need to tell you guys like a short little story. You might see I have a little injury right here. And if you just gasped, let me explain what happened. I was laying on this couch a few nights ago, literally right here. I had my Kindle in my hands and I was laying here and my lovely cat Draco was laying on my chest. You know, as he does. This is kind of like our nighttime routine. He just like sleeps on me. I read my Kindle. Long story short, I had some slippery fingers. I don't know what happened. I dropped the Kindle right on top of his head. He was dead asleep and he just like got spooked. He woke up and was like, "Ugh," and was just like trying to get away from me. And my face was just like a little too close to his claws. So now I have a really sexy little battle scar. It's been a few days. It looks way better now than it did a few days ago, but I really think this top part right here is gonna scar. Like, it's really, really deep in my eyebrow. And you know, I just have to laugh. Like, it's just ridiculous. And honestly, I just keep telling myself I look like Poppy from Blood and Ash. Like, that's what's getting me through it. But yeah, I like don't want to put makeup on it because it's still healing. So my hair is mostly covering it, but I know that like when I talk, I just kind of like look all over the place. And I know if at some point I look this way and you guys saw this like gash on my face and I didn't explain what it was from, that would make me upset. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the 10 books that I read this month. So first up, I read After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Guys, I just like at this point, you know, I think Taylor Jenkins Reid has to be my favorite author. She is seriously like my biggest inspiration when it comes to writing. Like, I have not read a single one of her books that hasn't just like touched me in a super deep emotional way. It's like she just goes inside my brain and picks out like every single fear or insecurity I've ever had and validates it, you know, just reminds me in the end that everything's gonna be okay. She just knows how to like make my heart explode, make my brain just like swirl. She is truly incredible. Like, I am just so obsessed with her. And I have read almost every single one of her books now. This is the second to last book of hers that I had. Actually, there's one more after this that we're gonna talk about. That would have been my second to last, but still, seriously, like, I've read 7 or 8 books by her now and she still impresses me. But this book, I feel like every single one, I'm like, this hit extra hard, but this one, oh my God. So After I Do opens up and we see this married couple and you can just tell like they're going through it, they're arguing, like they're just not having a good time with one another. Clearly, like, you know, things are on the rocks. And then in typical Taylor Jenkins Reid fashion, she just like jumps back in the timeline. She goes back to the very beginning. We see this couple meet for the very first time in college. We see them, you know, go on their first date. We see their relationship bloom, grow, blossom. We watch them fall in love. We see them, you know, get married. We see them go through their honeymoon phase, moving in together, like all the warm and fuzzies of, you know, what goes into starting a new relationship. And then slowly over time, you see as, you know, time goes on, life happens, you see these two people just like slowly grow apart, stop communicating with one another to a point where now, present day, they literally can't stand each other. Like, they can't even be in the same room without fighting, without bickering. Like, they've just completely come to a point where, you know, they love each other, but they are not in love with each other anymore. And so now, you know, this results in a really big fight. They have to kind of confront this and they have to figure out what they're gonna do because neither one of them is like, you know, willing to just get divorced right now, but they also are like, I just can't be around you. Like, I don't know what to do. Ultimately, they come to the decision that what they are going to do is they are going to separate for a year. They are going to spend a year completely apart from one another. They are going to live separately. They're not going to get in contact with one another. They're not gonna speak. They're not gonna see each other, literally nothing. Cut each other off. And you know, in that year apart, there's no rules. They can do what they want to do. If they want to spend every, you know, day of that year apart alone in the house, that's fine. If they want to date 10 different people, that's also fine. You know, this is their time to really like be on their own for the first time in, you know, their adult lives. And after this year is up, they basically will decide what they're gonna do, because they want to take this time to see if they can reappreciate each other, re-fall in love, whatever it takes, whatever they need to do. And oh my God, you guys, this was such an emotional roller coaster for me. Literally every type of emotion that you could feel, like I felt. You obviously in the beginning, you're like, what is going on here? You know, these two are not meant for each other. And then you see them fall in love, you see when they meet, and you're just like, oh my God, like you just love their relationship. They're so cute. And then you see, you know, where things start to go wrong. And then, oh my God, when they go their separate ways, like literally it like ripped my heart out of my chest. It was so painful. But then you the whole time you're following the wife. So you're really seeing what she's going through emotionally, just like the ups and the downs of it. It's like, obviously it's so hard for her to, you know, accept that she's gonna be alone for the first time in her adult life. Like she went straight from her parents' house to college to living with this man. And now for the first time as an adult, like she's on her own. So it's like, that's exciting, but it's also terrifying. But it's also like, okay, wow, now for the first time I can just worry about only myself. Like I just have to do what I want to do. Like I can eat whatever dinner I want to eat, you know, just all those little things. And you see how that just like really gets her excited. But then, you know, over time you see how she goes through like, is this really as exciting as I thought it would be? Like, is this really not something I could have just done with my husband? Like there's just so much to it. Like the story itself is so good. You know, just seeing, you know, the husband and wife and what they go through. But there's also like so many side characters in this story. Literally this book touches on every single facet and aspect of relationships and marriage, and how like that means something different to every single person, and what somebody might want out of a relationship or a partner at any given time can be completely different. And like there's just, at the end of the day, there's no rules. There's not one way to do it. And oh my God, it was just so good. I laughed, I cried. By the end, I was just like a puddle on the floor. It was so good, and I totally recommend it. Then next, also by Taylor Jenkins Reid, I read Evidence of the Affair. This is basically like a short story slash novella. I'm not even really sure what to call it because I've never really read anything like it. It's basically a series of letters that's exchanged between this woman and this man during the 70s. This woman basically has discovered that her husband has been having an affair with a married woman, and she writes this letter to that woman's husband to let him know that this is going on. So initially, you know, it's just like, hey, I hate to tell you, this is what happened. Like, I've discovered this, you know, your wife is cheating on you with my husband. I'm not sure what you want to do with that information, but I felt you should know. And so it's kind of like them going back and forth, like, you know, giving each other evidence, talking it out. And then like over time it turns into them kind of like consoling one another, and then sort of like forming a friendship. And you kind of put the pieces together of like what happened with both of their marriages and why they've slowly like fallen apart, and you know, what has caused their wife and their husband to come together. It's kind of weird. Like there's like a twist to the end of it that like I didn't see coming at all. It was a super short read. I actually listened to it on Audible, which was really cool because like you got to hear the like man's voice and the woman's voice. Yeah, this was an interesting little story. I don't know like what made Taylor Jenkins Reid write it, but as always, she killed it. By the end, I was like, wow, okay, I did not see that coming. It was really good. Okay, and then next I read I Can Fix That by Juliana Smith. If you guys remember, in December, I read Baggage Claim by Juliana Smith, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I was like, why is this book not more talked about? This was so cute, so good. So I knew I had to read her other novel, and I have to say, I liked this one even more. This story follows this girl named June that is an elementary school teacher, and she basically has just inherited her grandmother's house. And her family all wants her to just sell it, to get it off her hands, take the money and run. But June is a very like sentimental person, and she wants to live in this house. She wants it to be, you know, remodeled and livable, and she wants to move into it and stay there forever. Like, she just was super close to her grandma, so that's what she wants. But she can't do it on her own. It needs a lot of work, and they live in a very small town where there's pretty much only one reputable contractor. So that causes June to cross paths with this man named Grant that is kind of like the town playboy. He is a contractor, you know, like he does good work, but he's known for being a bit of a womanizer. He's very grumpy, you know, we love it. It's very much like a grumpy sunshine situation. But Grant, you know, agrees to fix her house. So now they're spending a whole lot of time together. And, you know, the longer they spend together, the less grumpy Grant gets, especially around June. It really is a story about like a hardened man that has a soft spot for just one girl. This story reminded me a lot of Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. Like, it's definitely a less intense, less like spicy, less graphic version of that, but you know, Grant, like, as the story goes on and you learn more about him and his past, you really understand like why he is the way that he is. And June is just like an absolute light in his life, and as much as he pushes her away and says repeatedly like, I don't want a relationship, I can't be in a relationship, I don't believe in love, like that will never come from me, like don't bother. The two can't stay away from each other, and Grant really has to like come to terms with his past and, you know, try to open himself back up for love once again. I thought it was so cute. Like, I seriously think Juliana Smith is going places. I think she's so good. She actually just announced that she is writing another book that is going to be an office romance that is very like Jim and Pam inspired from the show The Office. I will be first in line to read it. Like, I just think she totally deserves more hype. Her books are on KU, so check her out. Okay, and then next I read When in Rome by Sarah Adams. It's funny, I was not the biggest fan of the cheat sheet by Sarah Adams. Honestly, I kind of wasn't a fan of it at all. Like, that book just wasn't my jam. It wasn't for me, so I didn't really plan to ever read anything else by her, but I ended up seeing that the second book in this series, I saw the cover reveal of it posted on Instagram, and it is the cutest book cover I think I've ever seen. This is it. Something about it, I was just like, I need to read that. So I told myself, okay, read the first book in the series, see how you feel about it, and then you can get that adorable book cover on your shelf. I'm so glad that I did, because this book was so freaking cute. Basically, it follows this girl named Amelia, who in this story is a massive pop star. I feel like she's supposed to be the equivalent of like Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, like something like that. She's a big superstar, she's a singer, and she's super popular, but she has just been going through it lately. She's just been super busy, she's been worn thin, she's kind of like lost her love of music, and she just needs to take a break. And you know, growing up, she was always really obsessed with Audrey Hepburn movies. Like, it's her happy place, she loves watching those movies, and her favorite Audrey movie is Roman Holiday. So she is inspired by that movie, and she tells herself, I need to go to Rome. Like, I just need to get out of here, I need to go to Rome. But she can't really go to Rome, that's a little too far. She needs a place that she can drive to, that she can quickly escape to. So she ends up deciding to go to Rome, Kentucky, which is just like this super small, super cute town. And she's like, I'm just gonna go there, I'm gonna take a mental break, I'm not gonna tell anyone, and you know, it'll be fine. But her entire scheme really does not go to plan whenever, you know, she just barely gets across the city line of Rome, and she ends up breaking down in the front lawn of this very grumpy pie shop owner named Noah. And right away, Noah recognizes her. He's definitely not a fan of hers or anything, but like, everybody knows who this girl is. So he's like, why are you here in Rome, Kentucky of all places? You know, she explains she's just there for a break. She really doesn't go into too much detail, but so her car is broken down. They call the local mechanic. It's done for. They're gonna need at least 2 weeks to get the part in, and Amelia is not thrilled about that, but she's like, you know what, whatever, like, I need a break anyways, like, I'll just stay in this town. But the only issue is there is no room at the local motel, so now she's having to stay with Noah. Don't we love that? But Noah is very good about letting her know right away, because there is obviously some attraction between the two of them, like right off the bat, insta chemistry, insta love, definitely like bickering and bantering, but like there's attraction. And Noah just, you know, goes out of his way to say right away, it ain't happening, nothing's happening between us two. A lot like I Can Fix That. He's very much like not a relationship guy, you know, you're not gonna get anything out of me, stay away, basically. But that doesn't work out too well, as to be expected. This story reminded me a lot of It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. If you're into that, if you liked the vibes of that, it very much has that same sort of feel of like, you know, the famous girl, the girl that's lived in the city and lived this really fast life for a long time, going to this small town and being forced to kind of like slow down and just like see the sights and be around people that really like care about each other, and you know, see her for who she really is, and trying to just understand what's really important to her and what she really wants. Like, it very much like kind of mirrors that story. Not as like spicy for sure, much more tame version of that, but it was super cute, and I seriously cannot wait for the next book in this story. The freaking adorable cover. I know I'm gonna be reading it because it is about Noah's sister and Amelia's bodyguard. So I'm so here for that. Okay, next I read Ruled Out by Morgan Page. Basically, this story follows this girl named Phoebe that has just gotten a softball scholarship to this university in Florida that is like super well known, super big in softball, and she is going there to start her journey. And you know, she settles into town right away. She meets some of her teammates that she's gonna be living with, and she's really liking it. But she knows for sure she's gonna like it whenever she goes into this little local cafe and lays eyes on the most beautiful man she has ever seen. He walks in from a run and she's just like, oh my God, who is this man? Can't take her eyes off him. But things get even better when she realizes that he can't take his eyes off of her either. And you know, that sounds lovely, but it's not that lovely when Phoebe walks into practice the next day for her very first practice and sees the exact same man, and it turns out that he is her coach. Coach Knoxmore, her much older coach. You know, he's like 30, she is 18, and now they have to spend a whole lot of time together, so it looks like they're going to be in for a very interesting season. So much tension, so much angst, so much spice. You know, you got the forbidden aspect, the age gap aspect. It really was so good, and I gotta be honest, this book is by my very good friend Morgan, and I am so impressed and so excited for her. It's actually out now. It just came out February 3rd. I was one of the first people that got to read it, which is like such an honor. Morgan's my really good friend. She's like kind of my little writing buddy, my confidant. We always talk to each other about books and writing, and I really got to be there for like, you know, the last chunk of this process for her, and I'm just so proud of how it turned out. She killed this. Like, obviously she's my friend. I know that we have similar tastes in books. I knew she wouldn't write anything bad, but I ate this thing up. I flew right through it. The spice was so good. And like, if you can give me a man that is grumpy and gives me some good spicy scenes, but is also just like absolute husband material and just has like a total soft spot for that one girl, you know that I'm sold. Seriously guys, go check this out. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It's available on Amazon. Ruled Out. You're gonna love it. Okay, and for the last 5 books that I read in the month of January, I read the entire Off Balance series by Lucia Franco. I really am trying to be better about not buying physical copies of books that I read on my Kindle, but I broke down. I couldn't do it any longer. I got to the 5th book and I was like, okay, I have to like at least order the first book in the series because I am positively feral over this. I will eventually own them all, but I am pacing myself. Guys, look, I don't want to go too far into depth into this because my next video on this channel will be an entire series review of this where I do give like a more intense spoiler-free synopsis, and then I will go into it, you know, with full thoughts, give away spoilers, all of those things, because I have to talk about it. Like, there's so much I want to say, but what I will tell you is like, this is the most forbidden taboo thing I have ever read, in like every form or fashion. It is about a gymnast and her coach, like major age gap, kind of like on the verge of a legal age gap. Not really, I mean, age of consent, 16 and, you know, 32, it's pretty intense. He's also her dad's very close friend, business partner. He has a girlfriend. Like, it just couldn't be more forbidden. But when I tell you, this series contains the best spice I have ever read in my entire life. Like, toe curling, like earth shattering, what the fuck did I just read spice. This book especially, like, there are a couple of scenes, I mean, all of them are so good, but there are a couple of scenes in this book where I just, like, my jaw was on the floor and I was like, oh my God, just like pages and pages and pages, and I'm like, holy shit. There's so much drama. It's so toxic. There's so much back and forth. There's so many things wrong with what's happening in this series, but I ate it up. Literally every book is like 500 pages and every single one ends on a total cliffhanger, and you just have to keep going. Like, it truly is like one continuous story that you just had to like break up because it would be over 2,000 pages if you read it all at once. It takes place over the course of just like a handful of months while she's in the process of like training to try to go to the Olympics. So much happens, but I am so obsessed with it. I had so many people tell me to read this series over the years, but I have like this horrible condition where like, if there's people on the cover, I just won't read it. Like, that's the stupidest thing ever. I know there's so many amazing books that have people on the cover, but I'm just like, it's not like I I won't read it, but I'm just never like excited to read it. I never go out of my way, and I can't believe I held off this long on reading the series. Actually, my friend Morgan that I was just talking about is the one that pushed me to read it because she is obsessed with it. It's like basically her favorite series ever, and she's like, you need to read it. Coach Kova is everything, and I just have to say, I agree. So if you're into something that's so wrong, if you're able to just like put your common sense to the side and let yourself enjoy it, you're gonna want to check this series out, because I'm gonna be thinking about it for a very long time. Like it's stuck up in here. I think it altered my brain chemistry, and you know what? I'm okay with it. But yes, guys, those are all the books that I read in the month of January. It seriously was the most incredible reading month. If you read any of these books, I would love to hear all your thoughts down below. If you have any books that you're super excited about that you're reading in February, let me know. I just have so many things I want to read. Like, I don't even know where to start. I need to get started on like the 5 or 6 hockey romance books I just bought in this last month. Very excited for them. But yeah, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.